PG&E is working to put 10,000 miles of power lines underground in high fire risk areas.
And it's not charity. The company will make big bucks on the project. New at 5, I dug into where that money is coming from and what it means for your safety and your next bill.
Well, I was elected 2 days before the fire.
2 days on Paradise Town Council. Then the campfire changed everything.
We lost our home and business in the fire. I spent that day up here in Paradise helping evacuate the town.
So at what point were you able to actually return here? Did you rebuild?
We did rebuild 18 months later.
PG&E pleaded guilty to 84 counts of involuntary manslaughter in the campfire. And Ridge Rebuilders made it clear they wanted the power lines underground.
PG&E listened, and here we are. Our PSPSs go away. It's huge.
PG&E plans to underground about 200 miles of line in Paradise and in Lower Magalia. And right now it's costing about $3.75 million for every single mile.
Now Paradise is filled with bumpy roads, slow zones, and orange cones. PG&E's goal is to bury 175 miles of line this year.
To me, it represents progress, and I'm happy to see it. I'll be extremely happy when it's done.
Do you feel PG&E has been pretty transparent with you and accessible throughout this whole process as everything's been going on?
I mean, I'm not happy they burned our town down, but they are doing a job here, and you know, we do appreciate that. And when there's a problem, I can pick up a phone and call them, and generally we can get it resolved.
The utility recently announced a $25 billion plan to bury 10,000 miles of line in high wildfire risk areas. PG&E says it can do the job for less per mile than the Paradise work, about $2.5 million per mile.
And the reason that we're confident that we can do that is because of the performance that we've seen in some of our other work here in the North State, specifically in Berry Creek. We've been able to bring projects in under $2 million a mile, but it's also going to dramatically reduce the annual maintenance of veg management that we have to do.
But the Utility Reform Network, or TURN, doesn't buy it.
This is the first major capital project I ever heard of that's going to cost less as time goes on instead of more.
And PG&E stands to make a pretty penny off this project.
Because this is a capital expense, PG&E shareholders get a 10% profit on this. It doesn't make sense to profit because PG&E was negligent in wildfire safety.
It's important to recognize that we do need to have investors help to finance this work. And for an investor to finance this work, they need to be able to see a return on the investment.
Some of PG&E's customers have been through so much and lost lives because of it. Was there ever a consideration that maybe we hold off on that profit margin or reduce it and not get the max profit margin? Was that ever even on the table?
So it's important to recognize that PG&E hasn't paid a dividend for a number of years. And we have been just focused on investing everything that we can back into the system.
I think it's hard to stomach, especially when there are so many other places in the world that treat energy as a public utility, and to see our state be essentially privatized by PG&E, where it's being run as a monopoly.
The amount of kind of obnoxious greed that's involved in that is absurd. Yeah.
Earlier this year, PG&E said a 15-cent average monthly rate hike will cover the $25 billion cost. But with just 16 million people using PG&E, do the numbers make sense?
If you look at everything that PG&E is requesting, then at the end of 2026, the average cost per customer will have risen close to $700.
Oh, wow.
Okay, per year. Okay, so we're talking about increases of $50 or $60 a month.
PG&E didn't have a straight answer on that estimate.
When we look at what this is going to cost the average family, what are we looking at on our monthly bill?
So when we filed our GRC application, we didn't break it out by program. It's all kind of it's a large amount that includes multiple things, including underground.
I checked PG&E's request to the CPUC. It shows the monthly PG&E bill for a typical household is estimated to increase by almost 15% in 2023 from that same time in 2022. So a $100 average monthly bill would be $115.
Because ultimately, I don't think consumers should be responsible for their failing infrastructure.
But Mayor Crowder is keeping a positive attitude.
If it hadn't been for the fire, even for me, if they had come to us and said, you know what, as a ratepayer, it's going to cost you $10 more a month to have all of your utilities underground, I would have jumped on it.
Like it or not, PG&E is the only option for most people in Northern California.
The work on the bridge should be done in 2025. And as for the rate increases, the CPUC has yet to approve PG&E's plan.